My Neighbor's Dog Has a Zipper, Part 3, by Christopher Maxim. The next few moments are a bit fuzzy, but I can only guess that I was knocked out or chloroformed as I awoke strapped to a chair in a new room. Given the staircase, I assumed that I was in her basement, though this realization didn't help me any. I attempted to break free of my restraints, but it was no use. Unless she were to free me herself, I was fastened to that chair for life. In the absence of mobility, I decided to give the place a once-over. The staircase was to my left and a concrete wall to my right, but directly in front of me was a workstation, complete with about a dozen computers. This is where my neighbor sat, a USB cord snaking out of her unzipped chest, typing away at a blinding rate. Her motives were still unclear to me. Though confined to the one view, I was able to turn my neck enough in both directions to form a decent picture of what was behind me. It was a wall of cages, each housing an identical copy of her dog. They didn't move, not even the slightest, likely just as animatronic as she was. What on God's green earth had I stumbled into? Just then, my neighbor ripped the cord from her chest and walked over to me. "Ah, good, you're awake. Did you have a nice nap?" I refused to reply, looking her up and down in disgust, trying to make out what this thing that was speaking to me was. "What's the matter? Dog got your tongue?" I remained silent in lieu of her taunting me. "That's all right. You just need to listen. Sit tight, I'll be right back." She walked over to her workstation and grabbed something before reclaiming her spot in front of me. "I've worked too hard in this location to have you screwing things up for me. Then again, it's my own fault. I was careless. I never should have left my core on the porch like that." I assumed that she was talking about the dog. "I want you to look at this." She placed the object at eye level. It was a badge of sorts, upon which a logo that read, Synthetech. I'm an android. I work for a large company, moving from location to location, gathering specific information that is crucial to our initiative. You can't know anything beyond that. You actually already know far too much. I hadn't noticed it at first, but she seemed to keep playing with her zipper. God, I'm so sick of this meat suit. And before my very eyes, she removed her clothing and unzipped herself down to the groin. In the most unnatural way possible, she slid out of her own skin, revealing to me her true form. She was nothing but a pile of electronics, pieced together in a human shape. It was a strange sight, nauseating in every sense of the word. The way she moved and spoke while like this was downright sickening. I can't say any more, but I want you to know that our work is necessary. If you were to speak these truths to the world above, you would be jeopardizing everything we've accomplished. You have to submit to our intentions and see that they are just. I didn't know what to make of this. I simply looked away, wishing not to see her grotesque, animatronic face any longer. Unfortunately for me, she grabbed my face and forced it in her direction anyway, the odd feeling of cold metal enveloping my jaw. "You need to promise me that you will submit. You are not to tell anyone of any of this, do you understand?" I nodded in agreement, but only because I wanted her hand off my face. Luckily, she let go and backed away. "Good. You know, we're not so bad when you get to know us. In a sense, we're just like you." Internally, I scoffed at the thought of this. I was nothing like her. And not just because of her appearance. I was never one to go around kidnapping my neighbors, holding them captive in my basement. It just wasn't my cup of tea. "Well, this is it. I'll need you to take over from here. Don't make the same mistake I did, lest you regret it for the rest of your life." This was the last thing that she said to me, though I had no idea what any of it meant. I must have been knocked unconscious again, because the next thing I remember, I was waking up on her basement floor, no longer bound by my restraints. For one reason or another, she didn't kill me. I was a free man. Without warning, a group of trained operatives burst through the door of the basement and raced down to help me up. "Are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine. What's going on?" I noticed a few of the men walk on the opposite sides of the room to gather evidence. One guy ripped open a cage, grabbed one of the dogs, and unzipped him, revealing it to be nothing but a hollow carcass. "They're all empty, sir. A collection of shells." Just as I suspected. No matter. Load them into the truck with the hard drives. Hopefully, she didn't wipe them before she left. I must have looked completely bewildered, because the gentleman grabbed me by the shoulders and looked me straight in the eye. "Everything's fine now. We've been on this woman's trail for a long time. We may not have captured her, but this is still a big win. And it's all thanks to you." I was still confused, but more so relieved that it was all over. "Are you sure that you're all right, sir? Do you need a ride to the hospital?" I shook my head, not wishing to be poked and prodded after what I had endured. I didn't trust doctors much anyway. I just wanted to go home. "Okay, sir, let me walk you to your house." I agreed, and we were off. I couldn't wait to get inside and put the whole ordeal behind me. That was my plan, anyway. Whatever government officials they were, the entire crew picked the place clean and left my neighborhood within a couple of hours. That night, I received a call from them for a statement regarding the situation. I obliged and asked some questions myself. Though the information was privileged, I guilted them into giving me some details, claiming I needed some peace of mind so that I could sleep at night. The fact that I was just a frail old man helped too. It would seem that my neighbor was a high-ranking disciple in an android cult, hell-bent on infiltrating various government agencies. They were currently in the process of recruiting new members to aid in their cause. That's all that I was told, which was more than I thought I'd get. This was enough to placate my curiosity and keep me from dwelling on the events as they unfolded. I thanked the man on the other end of the line and hung up, content with my findings. After ending the call, I heard a knock on my front door. I didn't usually get visitors this late at night, but I suspected it would be one of my neighbors, asking about the sting operation that just took place next door. I opened the door, and to my surprise, there was no person there to greet me. No, not a person. Instead, there was a dog, identical to my neighbor's. Before I could process its arrival, it trotted inside and sat on the floor. A voice then emanated from its collar. "Shut the door." I did as the dog said, baffled and afraid. "Hello, I'm serial number 724234. I will be your core companion on your journey to fulfillment. True adventure awaits. Would you like to begin your first task?" I didn't know how to respond or what in God's name was happening, but it was at this point that I felt an itch running up the length of my torso. It was subtle at first, but it grew to the point that I had to reach down my shirt and scratch it. That's when I felt familiar metal caress my fingers. It took a moment for it to sink in, but I knew exactly what I was feeling. It was a zipper. Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this story. I know I certainly have. Special thanks to the author for allowing me to read this story. There are links to his pages in the description below, so please go check them out. And as always, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you can get more stories like this. Anyway, thanks so much for listening,